All right, guys, welcome back to Jerk Block Talk, guys. I am Jason Fernandez. I'm here with Phil Sabatini. We're at CrossFit Rife. You would not believe the amount of work that it took us to clear this jerk block just to be able to use it for this. You know, the coffee table. It's so fucking annoying. Anyway. Today we're going to try to do this once a week, if not maybe a couple more times. We're going to kind of have a specific session with Phil and talking about weightlifting specifically. So it's no secret that weightlifting is a huge part of CrossFit, and arguably even so more in the past couple years. Specifically what Phil and I are going to talk about today, because we were having this conversation with regard to a couple of athletes we have here in the gym, is heavy days and when, how, frequency, just some good things to know with regard to that. So for those of you guys that don't know who Phil is, why don't you just give the viewers like a little bit of your background?
I've been in the sport of weightlifting for about 10 years now, mostly as an athlete, most recently in the past few years as a coach. I was a two-time member of Team USA as a 94 kilo weightlifter. I've won a national championship and the American Open. I've been in the sport a lot.
Yeah. So, but you also have some background in strength and conditioning as well, traditional strength and conditioning.
Yeah, right. I was at the collegiate and professional levels. I coached as the head football strength coach at BMI. I was in the Chicago Cubs organization as a strength coach, and I'm a teacher at Old Dominion University.
And what do you teach there?
Strength and conditioning lecture. Exercise science is our major.
Yeah. So no stranger to the weight room, but also has a lot of academic background as well. And the reason we're doing this video is because we kind of got off on a tangent the other day about, I think we all have that friend who posts a video on Facebook of like a near max effort every single day, and it turns out that is not ideal for getting strong. So I'll let you talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of risk reward when it comes to that. First thing I like to say is that it's not the most efficient way to get strong. If somebody wants to come in here and improve their squat or deadlift or whatever it is, working up to a heavy single is not going to cut it. And then just say, oh, well, I didn't have it that day. I didn't get close to my 1 rep max, or I didn't PR that day, so I must be getting weaker. No, that's not the case. You just have to work with relative intensities. And you're going to be much better off using 90% or even 85% and doing triples, multiple sets of it to gain strength than you are to just take the easy road. Like, to me, I think that's the easy road. It's much harder to grind 4 doubles at 90% than it is to just say, oh, I'm just going to get in the squat rack and work up to a heavy single, one and done. So put in the time, put in the effort. It takes time and effort to get strong, and that's how you do it.
So bottom line is you should not be hitting a 1 rep max every day. So now, a lot of people would ask, well, does it depend on the lift? Like, you know, if we're talking about like maximum potential strength, well, clearly I wouldn't do that every day for a deadlift, but maybe if I'm doing a max effort snatch every day, well, that changes the equation. Is that the case?
I don't think so, only because of the neurological component. So number one, you need to live to train another day, because it's going to increase your chances for injury. And number two, it's going to take away from tomorrow's training and the next day's training, and could be the next week's training, which turns
so we have to train tomorrow.
Yeah, which could turn into the next month or the next year. Newsflash, everybody, you train more than just today, so maybe back off a little bit. But no, it's not uncommon to see this. It's not uncommon to see, the endless amounts of Facebook, Instagram posts of people hitting 1 rep max, 1 rep max, 1 rep max. And it's not uncommon to have the athlete come in because they just want it. They have this burning desire to know what the fucking number is. Like, I just want to know what it is. Why?
But there's obviously a point of diminishing return there.
Absolutely.
Where you're actually hurting yourself as an athlete. So, for instance, for most of the athletes that we would program for here, how frequently are we going to be testing 1 rep?
I'd say roughly anywhere from once every 8 to 12 weeks. That doesn't mean that you don't have tests in there. Like you do a multiple rep test.
But we're talking 1 rep.
1 rep max.
Like we're taking ourselves to the brink.
Right. I'll do it maybe once every 10 weeks.
10 weeks. Okay. And for some of you that have been in the game for a while, like that's not uncommon. We like as far as like right now we're talking just straight stick weightlifting. In the gym, as far as CrossFit programming, we'll probably go way longer than that before we test a 1 rep. Because the reality is, if my 5s, 7s, triples, doubles are going up, we already know what the answer is.
Exactly.
The question there just lies in like, well, what is the actual number? But it's a given that if I'm hitting doubles at 90 to 95%, like you can pretty much take it to the bank that 1 rep max has gone up. But I want you to talk a little bit about, we were talking earlier about so now let's shift gears. So we've already established, hey, save the 1 rep maxes for an appropriate time.
Right.
Now, 1 rep max day shows up, and we were talking a little bit about how you had your collegiate athletes get a little bit frustrated by like how you would facilitate that. So let's talk about a little bit like how does that day go down? So we waited 10 fucking weeks. I'm pumped up.
I'm ready to squat.
I'm ready to squat.
You're not going to come right in the gym and do 2 warm-up sets and put what you want to hit as your new 1 rep max on the bar and squat it.
So if you have if you want to hit 400, the plan is not the barbell, 225, 315, go for broke.
Right.
It's a shitty plan.
Right.
So
we'll go through a series of warm-up lifts, and there's multiple reasons for that. Most importantly, to prime the nervous system. You want the neural stimulation of heavy weights. You want preloading.
we're gonna grease the skids.
Right, so we'll go 50%, 60%, 70, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100, 103, 106, 109, and so on, if you're gonna make it there. So it's all percentage based off your current 1 rep max, but it keeps you accountable, and it also is giving you exactly what you need to stimulate your body to use these maximal weights.
Yeah, and I don't think most people know that like in order to go for broke, I need to be just shy of that before for probably a couple sets, like 85 to 95%. I need to have touched those weights before because it's taxing.
Feels heavier. Yeah, and it feels heavier if you take a 10 kilo jump versus a 5 kilo jump. Later on, when you're roughly around that 90%, it feels so much heavier than it would if you would have just hit 85 before that. You know, so and that's just the neurological component. You're not loaded to do that. You're not stimulated to lift that heavy weight yet.
Do you run? So when test day comes around, are you running squat test days kind of in the same cycle as like snatch, clean, and jerk? Like, am I going to test all those in the same week? So I'm building up to all those?
Not all the time.
Okay.
And that's another topic we're going to talk about programming, but I like to split it up into 3 categories. I program the Olympic lifts, our pulling exercises, and our squatting exercises all differently. So it could be, you know, squats coming at different times versus the lifts, or even the pulling exercises.
Cool. What else? We were talking about something else earlier too. I think that was it. But again, guys, there's a lot of people that just, and don't get us wrong, like we want you to lift heavy, so that's not the case.
You have to lift heavy.
You have to lift heavy. You have to go there, but it needs to be done intelligently.
There's more efficient ways to get strong than a 1 rep max. Much more efficient. Will you get stronger by coming into the gym? Probably, but would you be faster in gaining that strength by doing it more efficiently by heavy doubles or heavy triples or even a 5x5 on a linear progression? If you haven't done that yet, then absolutely that's the more efficient way to do it.
Yeah, if you guys have not played around with any sort of linear progression or specifically periodization around any sort of competition or anything that you're going to do, you should be doing that, especially when you know what the date is of that competition or what my test day is going to be. If I know that, there's no reason to not program around that and work backwards from there. And no different than a competition, you should be periodizing your programming, because it's no if I was going to compete in a competition, for CrossFit per se, or even for weightlifting, it's the same as testing my back squat or my clean and jerk. I want to peak on that day, and I can't do that hammering myself under the squat rack every day or doing 5 Metcons every day. Like, your body just can't recover. But you know,
what you're trying to do also is take advantage of what's called super compensation. So when you're under a stimulus for long enough and your body's working really hard to recover from it, when you remove that load, then you super compensate and you're actually performing at a level better than you were before you've put the load on your body. And so that's the premise behind periodization. You're trying to take advantage of that super compensation effect at the right time.
So for some people who don't know, are you referring to deloading going into that?
Exactly. Okay. Or tapering. I mean, this is even, you know, if you consider like an endurance athlete or a marathon runner, they're doing the exact same thing. Their last 4 weeks of training are really hard, and then the week before there's a taper period, or even 2 weeks before. Just
a little bit of recuperation, let the central nervous system reset, make sure the body can heal itself a little bit, and now I'm ready for...
And now you're super compensating, and then you're going to race the best on that day. So that's another topic that we talk about with our lifters a lot, is that PRs don't have to happen in training. They're supposed to happen on the platform. And it's my job as a coach to get you there. If you're constantly setting PRs on the platform in training and not on the competition platform, then I'm messing up as a coach.
Then the programming's probably backwards, peaking at the wrong time.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, I think that's important what you just said there, is like, again, we're not training to PR during training.
All the time. Right.
You're gonna do that inherently by training. But
through increasing your strength.
But if you have, if an athlete has the expectation that those PRs are gonna, now we're not talking about beginner CrossFitters, weightlifters, where,
or like your squats.
Basically somebody who's coming in with no baseline level. Like, we're gonna see PRs for days, forever. You live in that honeymoon state where like life is awesome, and then once you get a little bit more experience, then the PRs don't come so frequently. So don't be pissed off because you're not PRing every day. Like, that's like, you as a coach, that's your job to manage that expectation, and that's not fucking realistic. Like that nobody in the gym should have that expectation. They come in here every time we throw something heavy on the barbell that it should go great.
Absolutely. It's challenging as a coach to get your athletes to understand that. You know, we're one day. We're programming for one day. Today is not that day. Today was just, let's see how you're doing, or let's use this as a really heavy day in the program. It was put in the program for a specific purpose.
But it's not necessarily a heavy single. It's like a heavy triple or a complex or something like that.
Try to PR. See what you can get today.
Cool. Moral of the story, guys, back off the 1 reps. If you're doing that shit every day, probably not going to get you where you want.
Or it'll take you a lot longer to get there.
It'll take you a lot longer. So again, if that's you or that's your athletes who are doing that, the conversation you should be having is about efficiency and about how that programming is intended to work out so that they can get to their goal in a timely manner. I mean, that's what makes the program, you know, efficient, is that periodization, making sure I'm not killing the athlete when I don't need to.
Do what you can accomplish in what may take somebody 16 weeks. If you're efficiently planned and periodized, you can do it in 8 to 10. Exactly.
Cool. All right, guys, lay off the heavy 1 reps, go back, test it, you know, because heavy doubles are fucking way worse, quite frankly. So if you've ever done a heavy double 90-95%, like, you really don't want anything to do with that stuff afterwards. Anyway, guys, if you have questions for me or for Phil, please put them in the comments, hit us up, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.